Guys got it. And here we go. So we are off and running once again with somebody else. But before we get started, we always have to say cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, Alan. Cheers, Paul.
Cheers,
Our
Paul.
mystery guest today is Paul Letalien from Archer Restoration. Somebody I've known for a number of years, and we've only been trying to get him in here for probably about 2 years. And then Alan has just met Paul.
I have. And Paul, so the last podcast we did was the first time Chris did not give me a bio or anything. And then the two of them had a lot of fun at my expense because I had no idea what was going on in the podcast. And so today I said, hey, where's my bio? And he's like, no, don't worry about it. You don't need it. I got it. So I'm like, okay, this is 2 episodes in a row where I'm in the dark.
That's right.
Yeah. Are you getting that on listener feedback? That's really fun. It boosts ratings when I have no idea what's going on.
People love it when I keep you like the corporate mushroom, keep you in the dark and keep feeding you shit. How about that? Whoops. Well, there you go. We are explicit.
We are
explicit right off the bat.
We can do that.
A little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Paul, you be you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want that.
Oh.
Yeah. Do you want my bio now? You want to talk about the bio?
Well, let's introduce you to the audience. So instead of me doing it, why don't you tell us a little bit more about who you are and how you got here?
Okay. I'm Paul Letalien. I drove here today. So today I get here. Yep. Been in Atlanta since 1987. Came down, I hate to say it, for the Democratic Convention. Michael Dukakis was running for president, and I was from Massachusetts, New Hampshire area. So my father says, well, let's see how he's doing in Georgia. Take a ride on the motorcycle. So I like Georgia so much. Next year I moved down here. Been married for 30 years. Started Archer Restoration Services out of my basement late 1999. I've got a new partner now, and we've partnered up because it's kind of fun having a good partner to work with. Now, bounce ideas off of stuff. Went to college for 10 years. I never graduated because I kept going to work. But I think I learned stuff at college. I just can't remember it now.
Nice.
Been a while. Yeah.
So did you actually ever end up getting your degree?
No, I didn't. And I was telling somebody today that I went back to look at my records, paper records, and like a gas receipt that fades after time. It's like my education never existed. There was nothing on the paper. So I'm like, but I've done okay.
So, yeah, I think you've done all right.
Yeah.
So for those of us who are not in Atlanta, I will go ahead and brag about Paul and Archer Restoration, which is known as the premier restoration company in Atlanta. But a good question that came up from Alan on the way here was, well, what is restoration? So we might want to explain what restoration is.
You come home and your house was on fire, or you had a water damage, or you start to see, you start to smell a little bit of something and go, my God, my basement's been leaking for a while, and have such a big house. I don't know, because I don't go in that part of the basement. You come in and there's mold. We take care of that. We do asbestos abatement, lead abatement, really anything that can happen to your house. We do emergency board ups. Atlanta is what they call it city in the trees. Isn't that what Atlanta's called?
It is. It's a green city.
Yeah, the green city.
Yeah, something.
There's
like
a lot
that.
of trees, and sometimes trees don't want to hang out anymore. They want to fall through your house when you're not home, and we take care of the trees. We do a lot of disaster relief, plus we do large remodels, and we do a lot in commercial work.
I was just going to ask if you do asbestos abatement.
We sure do.
Yeah,
We're
okay.
regulated. It's very highly regulated by the EPD in the state. We've been doing it for about 5 years now. We've got one of the best crews ever. They work well together. It's not an easy job. This time of year, it gets hot in the house. And when you do an abatement in a house, you can't turn the HVAC on.
That's right. Because you'll be infesting everybody.
You got that right.
That's no good.
No.
All right. So one little thing is he said, hey, I drove here. And my question was going to be, until he let it out of the bag a little bit, was, what did you drive here? Because you brought up that you drove down from Massachusetts in a motorcycle. So did you drive here in a motorcycle?
I didn't know. No, I'm, I would do it, but then I have to drive home after dark in the motorcycle, like a 285. 285 used to be a fun drive in the early 90s. It was kind of like a racetrack, but now there's just too much stuff going on.
Yeah,
so
not fun anymore.
No, I drove my truck. It'd be all right.
All right. So
It feels like Mad Max on 285.
It is Mad Max.
Yeah.
Yes.
right now it is, with all the construction that's going on there and the diving from the barrels and things flying across the road. And I just had one last week where a ladder came off a truck. Thank God it was not the trusted toolbox, but the ladder was sliding across 285. That was fun to watch. It just kind of slide and just we're all trying to weave
I had a
around it.
friend of mine in a motorcycle actually hit one of those ladder that flipped off of a truck.
Yeah.
Didn't go well.
Well, I can't see how it would.
Yeah. No.
I mean, that's why riding bikes or motorcycles in a congested highway, it's just not fun.
No, it's not fun. It's not fun anymore. No, 10 years ago it was okay, but now it's just, I think we've reached what I like to call critical mass on the highways. I mean, I don't know how many more cars we can get here.
We're
Well,
gonna-
good thing we didn't do that outer beltway.
Right. When I first moved here in 01, they started talking about the outer beltway. I'm like, the last thing we need is another beltway to hold the other beltway in. To the other beltway. Yeah, no, this place.
I have a buddy's got an Indian motorcycle in Atlanta, and what he does, and I'll get a photo from him at sunrise from Lookout Mountain or someplace like that. So he gets up at 4 and just leaves the city, finds some great place out in the country and watches the sunrise. And that's how he manages being a motorcycle enthusiast in Atlanta.
Well, that's how you can do it. It's so hot here. By noon, you want to get home.
Yeah.
You know, it's too hot
Yeah.
to ride. It's seems to be getting worse all the time with our trying to get the jobs. to tell
Yeah.
you the truth.
Yeah, that's right. It's hard. It's definitely hard to do business with that. Let's go back to 99 when you started Archer Restoration. So you'd been in it all your life. I mean, was this something you knew you had to do? This is your passion. Tell us a little bit about how you did that.
No. I came to Atlanta, and there was these things called want ads in a newspaper back then, and not online, but actually newspaper. And a company which was called Houndstooth Carpet, which is located over here, said, "Hey, make $600 a week clean carpets." I said, "Well, I can do that." So I started doing that, and then pretty soon they said, "Hey, can you do this?" And I kept saying yes, kind of like that Jim Carrey movie. I think it's called Yes
Right.
Man. So I kept saying, "I can do that." And hey, can you paint? Well, I'll find somebody who can paint. Hey, come on and paint. Hey, can you do floors? We kept saying yes, and all of a sudden, 99, we just said, "Let's do Archer." It used to be A Archer Services because we wanted to be up in a phone book, because that was A Archer, and then we get all names. And so we just kept saying yes. And then we grew into a multi-million-dollar company, and we employ between 45 and 50 people now.
You said we in the beginning. Was it just you and your wife?
I had a partner for about 2 years from New Hampshire. He came down when we got started, and about 2 years into it, he came in and he goes, "Paul, I really want to leave the company. We're too busy." Now, and just
The look
explain.
on Chris's
Yeah.
face.
We were too busy.
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
we're too busy.
We were too busy. Now, in New Hampshire, he was a postal carrier. So, if you work for the post office, it's a very hard job mostly these days, but you knew exactly when you were what to wear. It was a whole different animal. With the restoration business, every job is different.
See, that's the thing. I want to dive into that, but I want to back up. This guy, let's pick on millennials for a minute. This guy was a millennial bit before they're millennials.
I know.
Yeah, he was a
we're too busy.
pioneer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They have-
pioneer,
they have
right? Look at him.
shrines to him in
Look at him.
millennial church.
Yes, they all go pray to him.
Yeah.
Pray to the postal carrier who got into a business that was going to turn into a 40 or $50 million business, set him on a financial freedom success life. But no, I'm just too busy.
Yeah,
It's
he,
just-
he really came in, and our friendship kind of waned after that, to say the least. I still love the fellow, but I had to kind of give him permission because he felt really bad after me bringing him down to starting a company and him starting right away. And he's like, "Paul, I don't worry. I know you don't want to do this anymore. No, I want to sell real estate. It's so much easier."
Oh my God. There you go. Pick that one. How'd that work out for you in 2008?
Well, yeah. And he left the company in 2002. So he was doing very well until like 2008.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had to pivot there and make a change. Did you bring another partner in? Did you decide to run it by yourself?
No, the good thing is I used to work out of the gym a little bit. You can't tell now, mostly on a podcast, but I picked some guys from the gym and I said, "Do you want to do this work?" It was pretty physical work what we do. So I brought a couple of guys in, and heck, some of the guys are still with us. So it's great working with people who you love, really. You
How
guys
are
friends.
you retaining employees in this era that we're in, but just in the industry that you're in? That's unheard of if you've got
Yeah.
people with you that long.
You know what? You have to really love your people, and they can tell.
See, Chris,
Yeah, Chris, you have to love your people.
I'm writing that down. Something that Chris has to work on, loving your people. Damn it. I didn't know that because I learned, I've learned a lot of lessons. One of them is you cannot call them retarded.
they don't like that.
No.
It's not motivating.
I didn't do that,
Oh,
however, and you
okay.
cannot call them a retard because that's also not nice. I learned that from another business owner who had to learn that from somebody else. So those are all bad things. That's definitely not being a good boss, but clearly Paul has shown that he's a good boss. So love your people. I wrote that down. Nugget.
Yeah, love your people because they know. It's kind of like if you get into a bad marriage and your wife says, "Oh, that's fine." When she says it's fine, it's not really fine. You will pay for whatever you're doing that's not really fine later on. And I think you have to love your people. And the thing is, I think the guys that have stuck with us for a while, they'll realize that I will get out and get dirty with them because that's how I started.
Mhm.
And that's, I mean, I'll give you a quick story. Yesterday, I got a call, I went to work and I was ready to just do some paperwork. And one of the malls up there in Woodstock flooded. Our guys were out from 3 o'clock in the morning. I got out there about 9. So they were already out there for 6 hours. I said, guys, help me out for a little while and you go home. We'll finish up the job.
So
And that's,
So you said something earlier, now, so let's get back into that. You said restoration, we find something different every day. And you were telling a story, and I think for a lot of people, they don't realize that it can be different every single day. And the story you're telling us right now is really different. So you're in an outlet mall here in the outskirts of Atlanta. And what happened on Memorial Day weekend?
well, main pipe broke in the food court. Am I allowed to say where it was?
Yes.
Okay. The Woodstock Outlet Mall. And it probably put out about 7,000 gallons of water. Well, Memorial Day is a big shopping day and the mall is really cool. It's kind of an out and inside mall. Put about 7,000 gallons of water out and it affected the Sunglass Hut and a couple of places like Spencer's.
Do what?
Spencer's.
What's that?
Oh, come on, man.
I know. I didn't know they were
Spencer's-
still
It's
around.
still
then.
there. It's exciting. Yes.
So did you pick up some merchandise?
Tie-dye t-shirt and a strobe light, man. I'm ready to go. It was a great time.
The black light, always the best.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
Spencer's.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Spencer's is still around.
And I will tell you, it's pretty cool. They have a lot of Chucky dolls. So, I spent a lot of time in there.
Making sure it was remediated correctly.
Yeah, because
restored.
there was 2 inches of water in there. And, it's how do we keep these people back in business? Because every minute they're closed, you got a lot of people walking by. And if they can't come in and buy merchandise, they're losing sales.
How about that? That's great. So 7,000 gallons. One of the
yeah.
things we've talked about is in the home services world, sometimes you know how to do something, either hang a door or you know how to do some tile work or you know how to build a shower. And you just take it for granted that everybody knows this, but a lot of people don't. And it's kind of like voodoo. And he said 7,000 gallons. Just put your mind around that for just a minute. How did you get 7,000 gallons out of a food court that had to open for Memorial Day weekend?
Well, we bring the truck mount where no truck has gone before. We had to move some chairs out of the way and some umbrellas. And, it's kind of amazing. Getting the truck in and out was probably the hardest challenge because everybody's on their cell phone. I'm like, do you not see the 8,000 pound chrome front dual wheel box truck that says Archer Services coming your way when it's not supposed to be there? Because could you stop looking at your phone for a second? And we don't really want to run you over. So we had to bring the truck out and we extracted it with a truck mount and kept dumping water for about 6 hours and finally I think the food court's going to be open today. So come on by.
So you got the call, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm going to, because I have a feeling it's going to be a good answer. You got the call. How soon was it before you were out there? Because I'm assuming a lot of the projects that you work on, they're not, I mean, everybody's in a hurry, but they're not urgent like this.
Yeah, this was pretty urgent. I think we got to call in at about 2:50 a.m. Our guys were on site within about 45 minutes.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Wow.
We our trademark. So you can't have this one, Chris. We want to be your hero. That's trademark. Because
You can't write it down.
Damn it.
Yeah.
I
Or
like
you
to
can write
copy
it
with
down and
pride.
you can put a line.
There's a
through it.
reason I
Yeah.
started a podcast, so I can steal from people a lot smarter than me, like Paul.
That's true.
Yeah. That's pretty good. So you said that it's different. And of course, I know a little bit about your business. So I do find it fascinating too, how you guys are able to take something that's completely ruined. And for a lot of people, it's their home. And that's not usually not only their number one asset, but that's their home. And it's just been either completely destroyed by fire or water. And you have to go in there and get everything put back together. So you're just not fixing things. You're also working with people you're almost like a counselor.
We had this last weekend, neighborhood right by me where I live up in Ackworth, house burn. The guy had a dog that was 10 years old, died in a fire. So we went over on a Friday night and they said he doesn't want to be bothered because he lost his pet. Everybody loves their pets. So we said, okay, Saturday, me and another fellow boarded up the house. So you see a lot of stuff. Nobody plans for what we do.
Mhm.
We had a customer a few years ago where went to the doctor with a husband, He was terminal cancer. He just got the note. He came home and his house was flooded. So it's not, we don't just fix the house. We have to fix the people too and be very compassionate. And I remember the customer telling me, Paul, can we rebuild at least his room quick so he has a good place to pass away in a familiar place? And that made me cry. I walked out, and that's what we have to do. So it's not just about, the remodels are fun and they're nice, but when you go to somebody's house, nobody has any spare time for their house to flood or burn.
How do you
these
get
days.
your people to have the same compassion that you do?
I go out there with them. I hug the customer. We cry together. My guys have to love, because if they don't have compassion for our customers, they probably can't come work with us. I tell them straight out, you are going to be dealing with things that you probably have never dealt with before on a personal level. It's critical.
How about getting your employees bought in on that one? You got to love your customer. I mean, that just speaks volumes about the way Paul has built his company. And I've seen him in action. I've seen him at their place as well. And when you walk around, you always talk about cultures and companies. When you walk in there, that culture, it's not a morgue. It's not a place they're all just checking the box or punching a clock. You can tell these guys now, when he talks about it, they care. They really realize that they're helping people.
As we all know, as consumers and business owners, sometimes customers can be tough. It's one thing that one of my friends who owns a pretty large business in Atlanta told me years ago. He said, do not let people dictate the way you treat them. And that is it's a statement, because it's so hard for anybody. Do not let people dictate the way you treat them.
You can write that one down, Chris.
I'm going to actually write that one down.
That's a good one.
So I can steal that one.
Yeah, you can take that.
Yes.
Because
Paul stole it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did steal it. Yeah, but but it's not trademarked, so you can have it if you want.
Good. It's called
It's the
paying
name of his new book.
It's called Paying It Forward.
That's right.
I'm writing that down, so you guys keep talking.
Okay. Well, we
were talking about customers can be difficult.
they can be difficult, but you know what? Everybody has stuff going on. I mean, I've had some family personal tragedy. We lost our son about 10 years ago. My father passed away last year, as Chris's mom recently passed away. Life is tough for everybody. Even though you see somebody in a golden castle, there's a lot of stuff that goes on. There's problems with kids, there's finances, as things get a little bit tougher. You've got to realize nobody says, "Oh, I get spare time. I hope my house floods today."
Right.
It's not going to happen. So when you get there, love your customers and love your employees. And this is how we work.
So nobody's ever said to you when you showed up, my house burned down at the most convenient time possible. Right.
Only once.
And that one lit the match.
Yeah, exactly right. That was when he was in the back of the cruiser. I had a fella that basically said, I'm happy I lost everything because I needed to buy new clothes anyways. I've gained weight. I had one client that was like,
that is a very positive person.
He's like, I needed some new clothes anyways. Okay. We get that.
I like this guy. Yeah, that's a good attitude.
Yeah.
We realize, especially in restoration, you don't ever want this to happen, but when it does, you realize you are up in their shorts. You are in every part of their business, and you're getting the whole personal tragedy story of, it's not convenient. I don't really want you here. This is not improving my house. This is not improving my life. It's now just completely invading my space and time. Can you have this over like an HTTV? Can't even say it. Doesn't matter. I don't like them anyway. Can I have it over in 22 minutes in one episode and have this whole house put back together?
Yeah.
Well, no.
No, we have to give them the expectations. You're talking about compassion. We just did an apartment complex down in Smyrna, Marietta area, where it was a total loss. And all the people were outside and they're sitting there. A few days after the fire, they said, can you find this? Can you find this? Our crew went in the fire. And I will tell you, when you go into a fire, one, it's a little bit dangerous. And two, you walk in a place where there's no roof, there's debris a foot down. And we found some people's photo albums. We found pictures that were unscathed of their parents. We found one of the girls' high school diploma. She was probably a 50-year-old lady. So when we get out of there, we looked like Pigpen on Charlie Brown. I remember that guy, but we were all dirty and stuff. And we said, and the guy said, some of the guys that were with me said, it's the best day I've ever had. Because you see exactly this instant results. You bring somebody out and they get their photo of their parents that they thought were lost in the fire, and they're crying, and they're giving a soda and pizza and everything. We're just kind of hanging out, and it made the day one. I'll never forget that day. So that was cool.
Yeah. So when you first started your business, Simon Sinek uses the, what's your why? Your first part of the business was just like me. Hey, can you guys do this? Yes. Can you do this? Yes. 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 My why was not showing compassion and love for my employees and making life a little bit better. But how was your why evolved from 1999 till today?
I have to admit, it probably hasn't changed much, Chris.
Oh, you're good.
Well,
Me, I was a little money hungry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've had an episode on how much Chris's why has changed.
yeah, I hate to say it isn't. I'm going to blame my parents for it. My dad was a pharmacist, so he was a good pharmacist, third generation. My mother was a hospice nurse.
Oh boy.
Okay, so if my mother, she wishes that she could go back. If anybody's looking for a hospice nurse, she'd come back, but she's in her early 80s. And she was a hospice nurse. And I said, what do you do? She goes, because God told me to, and wherever you stand, I said, well, Mom, they don't pay that much. She goes, this is what I'm supposed to do. So if you helping somebody, if anybody's a relative at hospice,
Those
That's-
people are
they're angels.
They're set from heaven. Yeah,
they are.
They are.
And so take care of people. My dad used to tell me a little joke, be nice to everybody. You don't know who's going to win a lottery. That was his So but it's great to help. I came from a family of servants at the end of the day. So I guess that's, maybe it's been my DNA, but that's what we do at Archer.
That's awesome. Well, I've seen it in your company, so that's awesome that your why didn't change. Mine, obviously, it was bounced all over all over the world. But
It does
now
fit your personality, though.
it does fit.
Yeah.
I do like to bounce around, but now I think my why is making sure my employees and my customers passionate about customer service, but also making sure that my employees can take care of themselves and their families. And I know that's been a big mission of yours as well in your
Huge.
company. And so let's talk about the employees that we hire, because we are not hiring the MIT grads. We're not hiring the rocket scientists. We're not hiring the white collar people who are going to sit in the office and count things or work to the nth hour just because they have to make a paycheck. We're hiring those blue collar people. Talk a little bit about who you've got that's working for you and how you actually find a way to hit that same chord with them.
I think well, I don't know this I don't understand the blue collar, white collar thing, but I do understand that it's a catchphrase for us. And we do wear blue shirts, so we do have blue collars. I have to admit it. They stay cleaner than white shirts. We had white shirts for a while. I think when you have an employee, one, for some reason, blue collar workers have been looked down upon, for a while. I think that's going to change again because we don't have anybody to build our houses or to work on our cars or to put a pool in or whatever we're going to do. Not everybody can push a computer, push a
agree.
button on a computer all the time.
Amen on that one. Yeah, I think, well, as with a lot of things in the US, I think the pendulum swings, and hopefully the swing is starting to come back to people where we can admire these people and use the phrase I use with my guys is you guys are artists. You truly are doing things that people can't do. It's voodoo to a lot of people what you do. And you think about what you guys are doing, restoring homes that have been hit by tragedy. So these guys, once they see themselves in that light, instead of the way society has kind of brought them down with, because they're not social influencers or they're not the person who came up with a computer or launching a rocket to the moon, they actually are doing the things that are more important and going to hit people more. So you got to get them in that same mindset. So how do you do that?
Well, I always tell them there's 3 things that humans need to live in. Facebook's not one of them, just to let you guys know. I thought,
Write that down,
sorry,
Chris.
Facebook's not one of them.
TikTok's not one of them.
No.
Oh, I thought TikTok was coming next. I'm like, I knew it. I knew Facebook was going out. TikTok, here it comes.
It's food, water, and shelter. So if you're a plumber, you got number 2 taken care of. Shelter is what we do. We make sure you have a shelter. Food, I don't know. We just, hopefully Ukraine will send us some more grain pretty soon. But realistically, that's what we do. We rebuild your shelter, your biggest investment. Guys, don't take that lightly. The folks that work with me, work out there with us, don't take that lightly. You're an artist. I like that. That's a good word. But you are building shelter, or you're having a place where people go to work. Without these folks, everything stops. Everything, not just a little bit, but everything stops.
Yep. I think I'm hoping that'll happen. I know Mike Rowe is kind of our big lightning rod to help bring that world back around.
Is that the Dirty Jobs guy?
Dirty Jobs guy.
He did one about our business.
Did he really?
Oh, yes. He did one about our business. Yeah.
So that's amazing.
Yeah.
Because he gets it going. I mean, he shows you that this is not only all needed, but it's also something that it demystifies thing and it helps people out. Paul, you used a phrase, something about using your hands and your mind.
Okay. So, I work sometimes in the school system and I go into college and I always hear the phrase, not college is not for everybody. So maybe you can go to trade school. And I'm thinking, well, that's like saying, hey, you can't drive, so here's a bicycle. I mean, what are you trying to say? You St. Claus said, my slogan is going to be, if you have a hard time working with your hands and your mind at the same time, college is a second option. Okay, let's get out there and change the way people in this state or in this country feel about guys that can actually work with their hands. And by the way, in their mind, with their minds at the same time. Try to read a tape measure, not a laser measure, but a tape measure with gloves on. Okay. If you can't do that, you probably need to go to college.
How about that? College is a great backup option for you if you don't know how to work with your hands and your head at the same time.
Yeah.
Because you're right, being a great carpenter, that's one of my favorite parts. Is the only part that gets me every time is you get the measurement and I cannot remember it. So I always have to write it down. So out in the field for me, my notebook was always a 2x4. That's where the measurement always went. That's the only way I can remember it.
With the 2x4s, you probably want to buy a paper notebook because 2x4s are pretty darn expensive these days.
So when I was using 2x4s, yeah, they were $2.94. Today they're gold. So now I'm going to go back to writing in my hand. That's awesome.
So I want to, how do you talk about loving your employees? And one of the things I try to bring to this podcast is remembering that the people in our audience are folks that are thinking about starting a business or maybe new in their business. And so Chris and I have talked about it a lot. When you first start, it's just like, how do I get that customer? How do I get that paycheck? And then you got to start worrying about your employees. And you're having a hard time making payroll, and somebody makes a mistake and you want to detonate on them. And how do you, and maybe has that changed how you appreciate your employees and show love to your employees over the life of your business?
Being from New Hampshire, we're pretty much, we're savers. So as far as I'm concerned, this is what I think is when you start your business, no matter how much money you make in the future, live way below your means, because it takes a lot of stress out. Your employees can tell you if you're stressed out about money, we got to get this job done so we can get paid. Well, they're doing the best they can. And they think, well, when did that become my problem? So that's with my guys. And when we started, it was kind of the same things, guys. We worked together as a team, and payroll is not fun because sometimes you can't make payroll. You've got to figure out what to do. Think about what you think you're going to make per year, your first year, and cut it in half. And that's probably what you're going to make.
I've heard that phrase before, and we keep saying it on this podcast, and I cannot stress that enough. Whatever you think you're going to make, put it in half. Whatever you think you're going to spend or your expenses are, double it. And then let me know if you can make it.
Yeah, it's true. It's not for everybody. And, really, it's just another tool. Your company is another tool at the end of the day. And there might be a point where you don't want to do it anymore. Let's face it. We're not 25 years old anymore, guys. Well, you might be. I can't tell with the mic in front of your face.
Listen to him. Such a charmer. No wonder his customers love it.
Love that.
You just don't know.
It makes me want to burn down my house.
And you're wearing a baseball hat.
That's true. It is he's wearing a Georgia Tech hat, by the way, guys. So
well, I my last final of the three sons graduated from high school this last week, and he's going to Tech. So I'm wearing the colors.
Yeah, baby. You know what? I cheer really hard when my kid goes to that school, and so does my money. So this year I've been lucky because my son's going to Georgia. So we've had a good year. Go Dogs, national champions. But
I had two that went to Georgia too.
Well, come on. That was so last year.
Oh, what have you done for me lately?
That's right.
No, you're so
I
shallow.
want you guys to do me a favor, just, because I am from up north. Can you name me a college football team out of New Hampshire?
Maine is the Black Bears. New Hampshire. That's where Chip Kelly came from.
Yeah.
University of New Hampshire.
I'm at a loss, by the way.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, guys. Yeah. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs. Now, if you wanted to rip off Michigan, I can go all day long.
Sure.
But yeah, that's not, nope. Do they have colleges in New Hampshire?
See, that's exactly, they're Dartmouth, one of those.
What?
Those schools, yeah.
Never heard of that school.
Yeah.
Crew,
exactly.
fencing, lacrosse.
That's right.
Hang it up
Field
there.
hockey.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Field hockey.
Ice
Ooh.
hockey.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, I should have known that. Oh man, that's bad. All right, we got me on that one.
So, Paul, Chris told me that you, one of the things that you do for your employees is you teach them how to manage their finances.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Which I think is just awesome. I can't wait to hear about this.
Well, Well, I'll tell you what I believe is, my parents were pretty good with finances. They would always, my dad passed away last year. Oh, this is gonna be interesting. Let's see. Oh, there we go. We got it. So he passed away last year, but he would always tell me, Paul, save your money. And I don't know, I don't think every parent told their kids to save their money. So when we have a new employee come in, I say, if you're going to work as hard as you are here, save your money or get on the system and just enjoy your life. Because if you're going to do what we do for work, it's not easy work. But please save your money so at the end of the year, you've got something to show for it. Because I don't want to hear I worked with Paul or Brian at Archer all year and I didn't get ahead at all. Well, that's not a good thing. That's not a good way to promote our company with our customers or with future employees. So I tell them, save your money. And they said, why do you care? I said, because if you care and I care and you get ahead, we're gonna be good. It'll be better for society, be better for everybody in general.
So do you have a rule of thumb or something that you'd give them?
My rule is, I always ask them if $5 is a lot of money. And these days, $5 is nothing. So I always give them the $5 a day thing. And it's kind of funny when you do it with older folks where I say, well, you've been graduated for so many years from high school. And so you've been out of school for 20,000 days. Do you have $100,000 saved? And they're like, well, no, where would I get 100 grand? I said, well, you told me $5 is nothing. So $5 a day since you graduated, you'd have 100 and something $1,000. And it gets them to think. And I'll sometimes hand out a $5 bill and say, hey, the rest of today is on me. The rest of your life is on you. And I've got calls from people all the way from Chattanooga say, hey, Paul, this year I put away $1,200. I've never done it. Thank you for that advice. And do I get anything out of it? I hate to see people struggle financially. It affects their marriages, affects the way they treat their kids. And so it affects everything. So if you're going to work hard and make money, save your money. That's what I've got for them.
It's hard to have that financial discipline, but I love the way Paul teaches that. And we've actually used the same methodology here at the Trusted Toolbox, where actually I was telling Paul that he's come over to our office and he got to meet my operations manager. And I said, look, I'm going to explain the $5 a day program to you, but I want you to deliver it to the team. And he gets up there, he changes it and says, guys, who here packs their lunch every day? Half the guys raise their hand, right? Because they think they're supposed to. He goes, well, I didn't. I used to go get McDonald's every day. So I went to McDonald's yesterday and I paid $12.25. I waited for 45 minutes because I didn't get my order right and I couldn't go in because of COVID. So I wasted an hour of my day, paid $12.15, and I just paid for 2 days. He goes, what if I would have just packed my lunch, stayed on the job, finished my job early, maybe even did all those things that help us make a little bit more money here at the Trusted Toolbox, and then didn't look at that money again. Next guy gets up and says, I hear you guys, and I've listened to you guys talk about this before. Let me tell you what I did. He stands up and gives a testimonial.
This is one of your employees?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
He stands up. He says, when I started here, my credit rating was something I would never share with anybody. He said, but today I was able to, over the weekend, I was able to purchase my first vehicle for myself. And he got himself a little sports car. This is a lead carpenter with me and does a lot of stuff. He said, well, what he did every day last year is he put all of his tip money in a special jar that not even his wife knew about. And he went out and bought more tools to help him be more successful at his job and invest in it. So it's a discipline that you try to help these guys with. And, you want to tell them, hey, can I pay you more? Sure. But you've got to figure out a way to live less than what you're living today. So Paul told us the story, and I want to have him tell it again. He had one of his guys actually recruit somebody who was quote unquote making more at another company, because the guy said, you come here, these guys are going to teach you how to live and be prosperous.
Oh, so Paul's going to tell that story that you just told?
Yeah, but he's going to tell so much better. Than
I don't know if I can do it as good as you. That's pretty darn good. But yeah, the problem is it's amazing. The more you make, the more debt you get into. I always have a class with my guys once in a while, and I do it when I go to the high school too. And I said, who's going to 18? And nobody last week. I was at a high school over in Sprayberry High School in Marietta. And I asked the kids, I said, when you're over 18, what's the most expensive thing you're going to own? Like my truck, my car, maybe a house. I said, no, that's not that expensive. Your most expensive thing you have is your signature. Because once you're over 18, you start signing stuff, you can really get in debt. You go out for a nice weekend. You can be in debt $50,000 before Monday comes. And all you had was your driver's license and a signature. And these guys were just like, I never thought about that. I said, you can get yourself in a heck of a lot of trouble with your signature. You go to Aaron Rents, you can go over to Carl Black Chevrolet. You can be in debt $2,000-3,000 a month and you don't even open your wallet.
Yeah, the hard part around the financial discipline, and I know people out there are Dave's Ramseyites and do all this other stuff. It's just back to it. It's just discipline and hard work. You want to fall into shape? No, you have to get into shape. You want to get better at what you do or get smarter at what you do. You just don't get better at it. But you definitely can figure out how to open a beer better than everybody else.
Yeah.
I'll just prove that. That was
Wow.
awesome.
He does everything better. Why do
He
you
does.
always get people as guests who are better than us at everything?
I know. And I figured we were really good at drinking beer.
I thought so too.
Man, we're good at
Yeah.
drinking it, but not opening it. Wow, look at
I
that.
don't know fingernails. I worked my fingers to the bone. Look at these hands. man.
That's
These-
true.
yeah,
Those
these-
got calluses on them and no fingernails.
Yeah,
That's true.
they're torn up.
There's no joke. He actually was out there making it happen at the Town Lake outlet malls.
Yeah, Woodstock Outlet Malls.
Woodstock
Great
outlet.
place.
Got to go out there and patronize
Go
them.
to
Go out there.
Spencer's.
Yeah, and go to Spencer's.
Go to Spencer's, go to the van store, the slip on and make us feel like we're young again.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow. All these stores I did not
I'll
realize
buy
were
you, I'll
still
buy
out
you a
there.
skateboard, Chris, for you.
Oh,
You can go to our
so
parking lot.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I need to do. So I can
I
crack
got-
my neck and be done.
I got an off the wall question. Is restoration, does that include crime scenes?
Yes, it does. We've just became certified by the state to do trauma scenes. Talk about compassion. That's one thing, because it's to loved ones. Sometimes it's a break-in. Sometimes it's sometimes they'll go in and shoot the guard dog, and we have to clean up. Which
Oh my gosh.
we
We just turned ourselves into a true crimes podcast. We're going to be like number one in the podcast world because that's the number one genre in
It is
all
a
podcasts. is
way
true
bigger
Is it
crimes.
really?
fun.
True
It really
crimes?
is.
Yeah,
No
yeah,
joke.
Yeah,
It's not
we-
this business stuff.
Yeah, we have seen some crazy stuff over the years because we do the crime scene trauma cleanup. It's the strange thing about trauma is you don't know what's going to happen. Someone could pass away in a house in the summer and be there for 2 or 3 weeks. So we have a situation. We had a client a few years ago, got a call, and person passed away in the house with the dog for about 2 weeks.
Oh,
Come on.
no.
Hey, if we're going to cross over to that genre,
I
we've gotta
asked
go
the
all
question.
way.
If you're
You
gonna
asked
if
for
you're
it.
gonna cross over, the dog was hungry.
Yeah.
Next story, please.
Okay.
Oh boy.
So I'm telling you, we see everything.
What is when the state certifies you to do this? What does that mean?
You've got to take a couple of classes. You've got to be registered. It's like with asbestos. Asbestos is a little bit more highly regulated, but it's basically you've got like a pesticide. We have our pesticide license because of some of the chemicals we use. So just to know that you've been trained enough and you know what to do and what not to do. That's it.
And I'm assuming you're recruiting a different kind of employee for those special jobs.
We don't have many of those. And so we'll have what I call crossover employees. They can do mitigation, they can do asbestos, they can do mold, and they've been trained on trauma.
Wow. I don't know if I can cross over there because I can't stay on that topic very long because for me, that's very depressing. But obviously you've seen a lot, done a lot, been through it, do all these. So how does that counseling go?
With the family,
Yeah.
listen to them because they just want to talk. They're going through something life-changing. Listen to them and see what's going on.
And that's across the board. I think one of the biggest keys to customer service is people want to be heard, but it's more than being heard. They want to know that you're actually registering what they're saying. And I mean, really heard,
Yeah.
and that you care. And even in a situation where maybe you've screwed up a little bit and they're letting you have it, the fact that it's actually bothering you that maybe you did something wrong, as soon as they register that fact that they know that you're as upset as they are, then everything can settle down and you can just get around to fixing the problem.
Well, here's what I found out is our customers don't live on an island. Everybody has,
They can't say that if this podcast were in Hawaii, we can.
okay, they live on an
Yeah.
island. They do. But when you go to somebody's house, you want to realize you're not just a technician. Funny story. I used to go to the British Virgin Islands a lot, and there was a bar, and there was a guy there that played the guitar, and he would always add weird stuff, like about Chipper Jones hitting a home run, or he'd be singing, whatever's going on. And what he would do, I found out from his manager, and place was a shack. He would read the morning papers before he came in and realize what was going on in Atlanta, what was going on in Europe. And he kind of put, he wasn't a great guitar player. He was not Bruce Springsteen, trust me, but he was just hanging out and he'd be like, hey, how about you guys from Atlanta, chip it home run and just do a little ditty. Everybody liked that they were part of the show.
Yeah.
Okay. When you go to a client's house, it would be nice for you to be aware of what's going on, how the dog, because everybody's got the Georgia Tech flag or the Georgia dog, or they drive a Tesla. Learn a little bit what's going on in your community. So when you walk in, you're not just a technician, you're their friend. Hey, how do you like your Tesla? I heard Elon Musk sent another rocket up. What do you think about that guy? A 2-second conversation. They want to be heard, but they want to know you're just not a person there. You're not blue collar. You might be a little bit white collar too, because you actually read the news today.
Yeah, that it definitely puts you up. One of the things I've talked about with my guys is that when you walk in, we're not beneath them. We're not above them. We're equal of them. And that them is the customer. The customer may be a person who started their own IT firm and is an incredibly successful IT person, or maybe they're incredibly successful at Coca-Cola or HP or UPS. They're not better than you. They're just different than you, and you're not better than them, but you're not below them. You're doing something that they either don't have the skills, the time, or the knowledge to do. And so you're coming in and doing that. And if you put yourself on that level, you're right. And if you talk to them on that level, you realize that, oh my gosh, this is a person too. And this person is helping me. And I appreciate that they are helping me.
Well, I got a funny story, because doing this for 20 something years, you get some funny stories. So, sometimes workmanship lacks on jobs. It happens.
Yes, it does at my company.
Chris,
yes.
do better.
No, but anywhere, whether
Thank you,
it's washing the car, painting the car, doing drywall, whatever. So we did a paint job years ago, and my project manager came, oh, the customer's cool. Okay. So there's a person who keeps the house up. So they're cool until the neighbors came over and had a party. And they weren't too cool about it after the neighbor says, yeah, they could have done a better job here. And realistically, sometimes when you're doing stuff looks a little bit different, joints crack or whatever. So the funny thing is, and I always hold this to my heart, is the owner of the house with a fellow by the name of Ray Charles. And if you know anything about Ray Charles, is that he had a problem seeing. So sure, it looked good to Ray Charles. Okay. And his assistant,
Your project manager said,
he said it looked good. It was the house, the keeper of the house, but he didn't realize that it was actually Ray Charles. So it's always a funny thing. Is I'm like, well, sure, he said it looked good because he can't see. Okay, so that's the weirdest thing. I'm like, well, Ray Charles thought his assistant thought it looked great, and he thought it was cool because he can't see. Okay, so you're not really just trying to impress the homeowner; you're trying to impress their buddies.
Yeah, I've used that. That's exactly. Now I'm going to use the Ray Charles line. That's even better. But sometimes when you're doing the job, you got to make sure that the neighbor who knows more than you as the contractor who's coming over to tell them, the customer, how he thought that they should have done the job. Are you making sure you're over and above that? I've been on a deck with a guy who's.
How about when they show up during the job?
I had to meet.
That's fun. That's my favorite. I would imagine.
That was my favorite. Yeah.
Who's the guy with the tank top and a lawnmower? Oh, he's a contractor. Explain to him what you're going to do, and you're like, and he's looking at you.
Yeah.
And he's got a Georgia Bulldog shirt on. You're wearing your Georgia Tech hat. There's going to be issues.
We're going to go down. Yeah, we're definitely throwing down. Yeah. I had one where the guy actually had printed off the internet the definition of number 2 deck boards and told me how many knots should be per linear foot and how many check marks could be in it. And I knew this stuff too.
What'd you do with that board, Chris?
So I actually, what I did with him is I turned my back to him, looked at my guys and said, pack it up, guys. You're done today. You can hit the road. And I looked back at him and said, I'm here to talk to the customer. I said, if you want to give her your opinion, that's fine, but I'm not here to talk to you. And I'm not going to sit there and start to legislate to you what number 2 deck boards look like or not. And this is all during the middle of COVID when we're not getting the best deck boards to begin with.
Yeah.
But we had picked through them and put these boards on, and yes, they had knots, and yes, they were checked, but yes, they were number 2 deck boards as prescribed by the contractor. And yes, they actually passed his test that he had, but he wouldn't buy it. So he would not let me up for air. Who is he? He was an engineer who had just retired, and it was their neighbor down the street. So clearly he was an incredible contractor. That's sarcasm for you in the podcast, but that's sometimes you have to deal with. He is completely uninformed, but with one piece of paper on the internet and his background of and being, because he said, well, I'm an engineer. And so that's where I backed up and went, really? So where did you go? Oh, good. Did you get your master's degree? Because yeah, I've had one too. Yeah, I'm an engineer. That doesn't make me any better at this. Let's go talk about what this deck looks like today. But I didn't look at him. I said, I'm going to talk to her. You can talk to her later.
But on the flip side, that's also your best referral source. I mean, I'm thinking about my next door neighbor. So my son just graduated from high school. My next door neighbor's son just graduated from high school. They had all their bathrooms in the house redone. They had almost 100 people there for their son's graduation party, but everybody got a tour of the house to see all the bathrooms. So I'm sure, like my wife's like, well, our bathrooms kind of suck compared to this. And, that could lead to a lot of business. Yeah. And I wish I knew somebody that could do bathrooms.
Well, but that's funny that we get together at least every week and talk about bathrooms and remodeling bathrooms and how
If
beautiful.
only
our
you'd written
bathrooms.
a book on bathroom remodeling. Maybe
That might be my next book
Yeah.
instead of starting my business. Paul, I want to go back to when you first started your business. Was there ever a period in your business where you went, screw it, I'm done, I'm out? And I know we're after this for now, but in the beginning, was there a time where you said, screw this, I'm done?
No, I'll tell you the truth. It was a lot easier then than it is now. We weren't threatened by Google reviews. We dealt with insurance companies since day one. It was a little bit easier because insurance adjusters used to be retired contractors. So they know what MDF is. I had a new adjuster the other day asked me if we could sand the MDF down, which by the way is, what do they call them?
Medium density
Yes.
fibers.
And it expands like an old waterbed. When you guys know what a waterbed is, right?
I had one all through
Yeah,
college.
why do they make them with boards if they get wet, they swell up? It doesn't make any sense, right? So the adjuster said, can we just sand it down and paint it? I'm like, yeah, you probably can. Well, it looks expensive. Well, they put MDF board when it's about a 6 or 8 or 10-inch baseboard. It was easier then. These days it's like, I'm going to call the Better Business Bureau, or you want a good Google review? Then I don't want to pay my bill. I mean, it happens to everybody. Whether it's plumber, your electrician, it's the same thing. The threat of wrecking your business that you have worked so hard to do and try to do the right thing and not been sued in 20 years and loving your customers and going out in the middle of the night cleaning up human sewage, but by the way, is not your own. Okay. And then you're threatened these days to Google or bad email, I'm going to do this. And when I started, it was a lot easier.
Huh.
I don't know how else to put it, but it was, the threat of repercussion, even though we're doing our job, it was, they'd write me a letter. Hey, Paul, can you take care of this? There was no cell phones when we started. It was dime pay phones. There was a pager. I thought I was cool. Used to tell people I was a pilot, or an engineer.
So status symbol, I've got a pager.
Yeah, that's
Remember
right,
that?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
we got Nextels. You remember that?
Oh, you were
yeah.
really somebody then.
Yeah, you
Push to
were.
talk.
So cool. Beep, 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 beep.
Sorry, I got to take this. I'm really important.
So it was, there's a lot more stuff going on. You're worried about advertising budgets now. Everybody comes in and says, hey, I can put you on the first page of the Google or whatever on the internet, first page. I'm like, how can you advertise to everybody you're going to be on the first page? Is it like a big scroll, like in those cartoons when we were kids? They open a big scroll up. How big is the first page? Is it like Moses and his tablets? I mean, what the, Chris, have you had that? You're going to be on the first page?
First page. And so how many guys are you pitching? Just about 150.
Yeah.
So all of us are going to be on the first page. That thing, there's only like 4 spots available anymore.
Yeah. How big is your monitor, man? I mean,
It's a big page, brother. Big page.
Yeah.
All right. So our audience thinking about starting their own business, maybe started their own business, trying to scale it. And you basically just told them it's the hardest time ever to run a business. So what do they do to overcome that?
Okay. They write a list, what their goals are for the next 10 years if they're going to start their business. I taught a class in one of our business groups, and I asked the business owners, who has a plan a year out? Everybody raised their hands. By the time I got to 5 years, their hands were either glued to, they were like, we don't have a 5-year plan. If you're going to start your own business, don't expect success for the first 3 years. You will doubt yourself. Surround your people who are good. I took a class at one time and he said, make everything that's black and white, black and white. And I know it sounds kind of weird, but we work on the trucks this day, no matter what. Here's your uniform. This is how quick we call a customer back. This is what time we get off. This is what time we get started. Anything that can be black and white, even in our business or your business, Chris,
Right.
is you make that black and white. Okay. Another thing is you think you're going to do 100 grand a year, build your company, use a QuickBooks program or something, start your company, say, we're going to grow this to $4 or $5 million a year. That way, as you grow, you've already absorbed that and made that black and white. And that was the biggest thing I learned is, don't cut corners. A lot of contractors out there don't carry certain types of insurance, workman's comp. We only want to carry $1 million. Well, carry $2 million doesn't cost that much more. And you might have a contract with somebody goes, hey, I need $2 million. Well, oh, I already have that, because you rather be proactive than reactive. Check your tire pressure before you leave in the morning. I know it sounds crazy, but getting home at 7:00 because you had a nail in your tire and you knew it and you put air in it and you said, I'll make it through the day. You have no idea in our business how long your day is going to be.
That makes it a long day.
That makes sense, right? Yeah.
It's that discipline. It is so hard. Make things black and white that need to be black and white.
Paul's like the Harvey Pinnock of construction.
And for those of us who don't golf, which we do.
You do golf. You know who he is. You know who he is, right?
What'd you say?
It's all these little sayings that just make so much sense. Like Harvey says things like, you only take aspirin one at a time. You never take the whole bottle. So, and he was a golf instructor for greats like Ben Crenshaw and things like that. And so you don't put 10 swing fixes in one lesson. You just work on one at a time. And you've got a lot of these great little sayings that just resonate with everybody.
Well, I've seen them, and I'm a blue collar guy that went to college for 10 years. I thought, I thought I was going to, I went to a small school and it's so much fun to bring employees in and watch them cut up with each other and exceed. When you get a customer done, you made, like I said, we want to be your hero. I mean, I've had people who
you can't use it still, Chris.
But yeah, darn
you
it.
can't use it, man. No.
We can't
too
keep
close,
bringing it
too
up.
close.
Dang it.
I saw that twinkle in your eye. You're like, oh, that's a good one. I'm like, no, he already said that. We covered that. You can't, yeah.
But you hit on the things. The thing that's really hard in business, if it was easy, everybody would do it, right? You've all heard that stupid line. But in business, you didn't have to have the sexiest idea out there. You didn't have to have the next Google, the next Yahoo, the next rocket going. Paul talked about just caring for people and getting a restoration, but making things black and white. It's that discipline that a lot of people miss, and that's why 9 out of 10 companies fail within the first 5 years. And that's the hardest part when you're thinking about doing this, because y'all think, oh, I can do this. Oh, I got this great idea. I got the next best swing fixer in golf, and I'm going to make this product, and it's going to make me millions. I'm going to win the lottery. I mean, you might as well be thinking like that. But unless you're thinking about how to run a business and get into the black and white and the details, you're just fooling yourself.
But I think the difference between somebody like Paul, and I just met him today, and one of his competitors, is his exceptional people skills. I mean, because you could have somebody else who came down on their motorcycle at the same time who's a really good tradesperson, but they don't have the people skills and the compassion that you have, not only for your customer, but for your employees. They're not going to be as successcul as you. And that is a really important skill to have and something to be very aware of.
Well, it was funny because I get to speak out a lot to different groups, and I like it. And most of the time I don't get paid for it, but I do get a free lunch once in a while, and food is going up in price. So it's costing more than I can even expect. But I tell them, I said, the biggest expense, and you have to have if you're going to be married, you have to have a good wife that realizes if you're in the service business. So Kathy, I love you. And just to let you know, if I've been in the service business, our biggest expense for the first couple of years was aluminum foil. I feel like, what do you mean? I said, well, because I would get calls of sewer backups or water backups right in the middle of dinner. So I'd be like, put the aluminum foil on, put it in the fridge. When you get me home, I'm like, I don't know. By the time I got home, she took her bath and she was in bed. But the aluminum foil was our biggest expense, because if you are in the service business, the stuff we do, that it takes part of you have to sacrifice. If you're not willing to sacrifice, including business, where I'm sure Chris is here sometimes at 10 o'clock at night, figuring out the books, how to make the bills. If you're not willing to do that and it's going to get you angry, you probably want to reconsider if you really want to be a boss.
So when people look at you from the outside in, Paul, I mean, and I've seen it. We talked about going to the Braves games, and some really quote unquote famous people. And we also have seen you've been on bike rides, you've had some great experiences out there, and people see that and go, wow, I wish I had your life. They miss the other part, what you just talked about.
They missed the other part where sometimes I get out of bed, I can't walk. They missed a part that we lost. I lost my son 10 years ago. There's always a little bit different. There's a sacrifice in the business that they don't realize it. You come into a business, go, well, they're huge now. Every Sunday, my wife used to get mad because we'd clean the trucks in my yard every Sunday. Once my guy started eating all her food and using the shower and not keeping the shower nice, she basically told me it's time for you to get out. Not me, but the business. And that's, I wish she was here where she talked about that. But that was one of those things that there's a lot. I missed a lot of stuff with our son at school. I only get to go home a couple of times a year to see my folks when they were alive, or my mom's still alive. There's a lot of things you miss. Neighbors having cookouts, you're over there and all of a sudden you got a water damage, you got to go. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for the good time. All of that stuff you do miss, and it's a sacrifice. And if you're not really willing to sacrifice and you think you are, you got to really sit back and do that. Now, is it rewarding? Yes. Have I got to meet a lot of incredible people that have done things that, they're number one in their field. It's great to meet different types of people that have done a number one in their field and see what they all have in common. And the thing is, their fame or their fortune cost them something.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to put it, I think, right?
It all costs us something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I obviously I love to get out there on Instagram and TikTok. We talk about that. Customerservice.freak. Don't forget to go out there and follow me. And I do. I post all the positive stuff. I figure I keep all the negative stuff away. People don't see the hours I put in. I had a great weekend, by the way. I got a chance to go up to my buddy's place and got to cook. His buddy came over and cooked pizza in this pizza oven. Phenomenal. Got to go to the Coca-Cola 600, go down there, shake hands, got to meet Denny Hamlin before he won the race and the whole thing, right? Like, wow, Chris, what a great life. But they missed. And I didn't post this, is that we had to leave early on Monday to get back so I could work last night so I could make sure that my 4-day week was actually going to be ready to go, because 4 days in the home service business, Tuesday after a holiday is like a double steroid on absolute everything going bad. That's Tuesday. That's a Monday in our business. And it was just absolutely inflammatory today, and got a chance to get in here with you guys, but it was a lot of work to get here. And people miss that. I don't post that stuff because it's not as fun, but people need to understand that if you're going to do this, there's sacrifices, the same sacrifices I made when I started my business. I remember going to the beach. We went to Destin, which is the status symbol. And
You're such a name dropper.
right. And we went there.
Like
We went to
one
the place,
paragraph, Denny Hamlin, Coca-Cola 600.
Watch me go.
For me.
Destin.
Yes.
and then Destin, because that is the status symbol of us in Atlanta. And I remember going down there, and I literally had to write a $10,000 check from our personal checking account into the business account just so I could make it through, so I could go down there and at least go onto the beach for a couple hours with the family. But then every morning before they got up and every evening after they went to bed, I was up there, writing estimates and figuring out where my guys were going to go and doing all this stuff. And people don't see all that. And that was a labor of love. I mean, that was stuff, again, what was my why? It was just, freaking make ends meet, get this thing going, solve this customer's problem and do these things today, got a team in place and try to really get into that. And Paul really hit on this. And that is, people work for good people. People run from bad people, right? Don't we all want to run away from that bad boss, that bad culture, that bad fit? So let's talk about that for a minute, and then we're going to start wrapping this thing up.
Well, I'll tell you, it's good. Like I said, I've got a partner now, Brian, and he's come in. It's been about 3 years. He told me today it's been 3 years, and it's been a great 3 years, but it was right before he came in, right before COVID came. And boy, I'll tell you, it's, doing work in people's houses. We had all these contract signs and nobody wanted us to come in. And it was like, okay, you have to wear a mask in the house. Then it was like, for 2 months, we could not go, probably same thing as you, because you couldn't go to people's houses.
Right.
But, they've done a lot for the culture of Archer. And maybe I was too busy before, but with both of us kind of teaming up, we have a little more free time to actually think. And this weekend we had like Archer days, which was pretty fun. I don't know if you guys, they brought this thing and we could throw the axe throwing thing. And
Yeah.
I was like, hey, I was pretty good. Well, I was better than a person I was against, but we cooked for everybody. Everybody brought their kids and stuff. They had one of these things you blow up and the kids jump around in a slide. I couldn't get up a slide. I was a little bit too big, but you're right. We had a good time and get the people outside of work. So it was great. We were like a bunch of kids. And I will tell you, so I always tell these young kids, go get a job. Well, how come? I says, because you're going to meet people that you're going to remember forever. I mean, I'm going to be 58 and I've got guys that I was working when I was 18. I still talk to and hang out with. I mean, how cool is that?
That's cool.
You know, they can't unfriend me because it was before Facebook.
There you go. Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Really.
you
Yeah, they
can't
gotta keep
unfriend me.
taking
I
that
know
call.
you. You know?
You actually dropped in a little gold nugget that I think is big, is that as employees or as employers, we have employees, but we also have families. And sometimes you have to realize that you're just not employing him or her. You're employing him, her, their spouses, and their kids, and letting them know how cool it is to have those people along on that journey with you. And they get to enjoy themselves with them. I took everybody to the Braves game last year, and these guys were still talking about that this year. In fact, we just hired on somebody new in our office, and the ladies were like, "Oh yeah, and we get to go to the Braves game. You're going to love it. We get to go to the greatest place ever." But you show them that what they're doing is that we think it's part of a family, but you show them that, hey, I really enjoy having your mom or your dad with me on this journey. Means a lot, and it goes a long way. And I think if you don't realize that as a business owner, you're missing something.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. And you know, it's funny because what you and I, Chris, and we've met some interesting people, sports people and stuff. And some people are really into sports. I mean, big time into baseball. And I've been fortunate to know a lot of the guys that played for the Braves back in the 90s. And anytime I can bring one of my employees and go, hey, let's go hang out with whoever, they're just like, oh my Lord. Like we've got a guy, Sean, that works with us, and he's to box. He's into boxing. He's into Metallica too, but he was into boxing. And one morning I was doing something with Evander Holyfield. So he came to the office. And so this is a funny story. I like that. So Sean's busy getting a schedule together. I'm like, hey, Sean, you got a minute? He's like, you know, Paul, I'm really busy. I'm like, do you have a minute? He turned around. I'm sitting there with Evander. He's like, oh man, it's Evander Holyfield. Oh, nice meeting you. So he went out and talked to the guys in the shop. Like, what's Evander doing? I said, well, I'm telling him about the cool guys I work with. He wants to meet you. And so they hung out for a few minutes. We got a couple of pictures and stuff. But, you know, this shows that you have to love the people you work with, because let's face it, who wants to go to work somebody you don't like?
Right.
It's not no fun, man. Not at all.
Paul, this has been amazing. You've dropped a lot of great information for all of us, a lot of great gold nuggets, but I've got to ask you 3 questions that I ask everybody who comes in here. And here we go. So, number 1, what is your favorite feature of your house?
I live in the same house I've been since 93. I think maybe no mortgage might be one of the favorite features.
Hey, back to black and white, back to financial.
Like a true New Englander.
Yeah. No mortgage would be nice. You know what the best thing about my house is my neighbors.
How about that?
We all moved in. This is great.
Too nice.
My
Paul.
2 neighbors, we moved in the same week, Billy and Scott. Know when you go home and it's like, how you doing? It's like a leave. Then my house can be watched by my neighbors and we go help out each other. That's the best thing. And my garage, I love my garage. I've got a couple of motorcycles, a Corvette, and a couple of nice cars that are sitting in the garage. I love my garage, and people love my garage. You know, when I grew up, we didn't have a garage. We had a carport. For those who don't know, a carport is a garage, but we didn't have enough money to put up walls. Okay, that's what a carport is.
I think your wife's answer is going to be that the fact that your employees aren't coming over and taking showers in the house every Sunday.
That might be what that's so, but that's probably I like my garage and I like my neighbors. I guess part of your house, I guess, right? Kind of.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. When you go out there and go to a restaurant, go to an office, go to somewhere to buy something in the retail world, what is one of your biggest customer service pet peeves?
Okay, this is going to take a second because this is what I'm thinking about.
Oh, I like this.
I like to watch people, like if you have a dog and you're going down the road and a dog's in a car and there's another dog in the yard, they see each other, they bark at each other. Do you notice that? How do they do it? It's like the Terminator, you know, or the, you know, where they're just kind of looking, they can see everything. They're out in the woods and they get thermal imaging. They can see the other dog. You know, it's like a half mile away, you see a dog. How you doing, dog? Bark, 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 and they're talking, right? Or you see these babies, like the babies know, like we're really small. The adults might eat us maybe. So they look at the other baby and said, help me if I need it. If you know, you go in a room and there's 2 babies, they kind of look at each other. It's amazing when you go certain places, the people working there don't look at you because they don't want to serve you.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes me upset. You go to a restaurant and they walk by you like you're not there. Hey, how you doing? They'll be with you in a minute. Just acknowledge me. I went to a car place the other day and I was waiting on somebody and all of the guys walked by. I'm not going to tell you what dealership it was, but I said, you know what really ticks me off? I said, I don't mind waiting, but not even looking my way. Dogs look at each other. Babies look at each other. Maybe if I had a pet giraffe and the neighbor had a pet giraffe, they'd be hanging out. I don't know. Giraffes are big, but I do know that that's a pet peeve. Don't walk by me just because you don't want to confront me when a dog can see another dog in another car and start talking to each other. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I love it.
That's such a big one. In fact, we talked about it earlier, is that people just want to be heard. People want
Yeah,
to
just
want you
say,
to listen.
Hey,
And
how you
when
doing?
go in
Nice
there-
shirt, buddy. Have a nice day. He'll be with you in a minute. Thank you. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah. Or, and then usually it's because they know they're not going to be with you in a minute.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. Just tell me,
Yeah.
hey, glad you're here. It's going to be a bit. We'll get you taken care
Yeah,
of.
whatever.
Please, yeah. Just
Yeah,
tell
give
me something.
Give me something.
Yeah.
How you doing today?
Right.
Good. Give me a second
Yeah.
to show that, it's amazing how we don't talk to each other anymore.
Paul and I were talking about this before we went on the podcast, talking about in today's world, post-COVID, middle of the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, rising inflation rates, a lot of negative, and the news is soundbite management and soundbite negative. We have so much negativity going on right now. I think we're all having a tough time figuring out just how to talk to people again. And hopefully this podcast allows you to get a chance to listen to us talking to other people. But you just got to get out there and just talk to people. You know what? Even just that smile when you're walking by, a nodding smile might actually brighten somebody's day you don't even know about. But acknowledging people when you're there, that's a big one.
That's huge for me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the last one, and this is one of my favorites because, all right, Paul is in the restoration business and he's seen it all. And we didn't cross over to True Crimes podcast, but we definitely talked about it. But Paul, I want you to share with us a DIY nightmare story.
All right. So I'm having the same issue now is these refrigerators have become so fancy. I do not like ice makers and refrigerators. Okay. I don't like them. I've cleaned up tons of floods. You buy a $2,000 refrigerator and they have a $4 water line to them and it gets kinked up and it floods the house. I don't like them. Now, for those of you who are as old as me, my parents used to have these aluminum things where you'd probably cut yourself or slit your wrist when you're trying to open them when you were kids. It was before plastic was invented for the freezer. You guys remember those
I
things?
do.
Yeah,
I
no,
totally
it's
remember
like,
that one.
maybe I can get them on the 70s show, but those things. So I don't like water. I don't like water in the door. I don't like any of that stuff. So we had a customer over in Woodstock, or like they like to call themselves Town Lake. I'm not in Woodstock. I live in Town Lake. You know?
Elitists.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, very, very much. And it's not even gated, so it's just Town Lake. So this fella decided to replace his filter in the refrigerator, and boy, he flooded the heck out of his house. It went down into what they call a man cave now. It affected his pool table. It did all this stuff. Can lights, the jukebox he had what was really cool was a Kiss pinball machine.
Oh,
That was cool. Yeah,
classic.
But it soaked everything. There was big bubbles of water where the paint was painted. And so we cleaned it all up. And she was mad because the husband decided to do it yourself, which, to tell you the truth, I think replacing Phil is probably not that hard. So he did it. We got everything done, literally everything. So about 2:00 in the morning, the lady calls me, we're all done. My house flooded again. Well, the husband decided to give her a Mother's Day present and replace the filter again and did it wrong again and flooded the whole place that we just got done a day before.
Oh my God.
So I think that is a do-it-yourself type of thing. Stay away from plumbing unless you pay attention. Sometimes you're too strong for your own good. We've had the plumbing. We had a customers call me where the husband tries to replace a supply line, but doesn't realize some of that stuff is probably made overseas and made of plastic. You don't need a vice grip. I mean, vice grips were cool but they're kind of out of stock because everything's made of plastic now. You don't need a vice grip anymore.
Right.
If you can bench press 135, you can probably screw it on tight enough.
Yep. Yeah, you look at a lot of stuff, especially around toilets. It's all hand tight now.
Because just remember, when a toilet lets go, it puts out about 9 gallons a minute.
File that away. Gold nugget, 9 gallons a
9
minute when you
gallons
screw
a
up your
minute.
own toilet.
Yeah.
We've heard that. So, oh my God.
Sorry, Chris.
My worst mental image there is that Kiss pinball machine got it on the chin again.
Oh yeah. It was actually being rebuilt.
Oh,
yeah.
thank God.
Yeah. Gene Simmons would be proud. It was being
thank
rebuilt.
God.
Yeah.
Paul, thank you so much for coming on the
All right.
podcast. I am thrilled. We've been trying to do this for a long time. Before we let you go, let's go ahead and tell everybody again, Archer Restoration, anything else you want to plug that you're doing?
Oh, we're taking a bit. We're doing our remodels. If you have a disaster, give us a call. We're over in Ackworth.
You can do the phone numbers.
Oh,
Yeah.
the phone number is 770-917-8868. And again, I said, talk to people, man. It's about time for us to get out of this COVID stuff, please.
I love it. Thanks, Paul. All
That's
right.
awesome. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Small Business Safari. You've done it again. We've listened to a great episode today. We've learned so much. Keep rising up that mountaintop of success and keep on trudging and keep on and go out there and follow, rate, review us. Tell other people about us. Tell us how awesome we are. Go out there and check us out and go ahead and DM me with some other stuff that we can actually foil Alan with. Be good, everybody.
Cheers. Thanks, Paul.
Cheers. Oh, yeah. So what do you think?